Everybody today, on behalf of the family, including myself, my sister Jana, my brother Justin, and my grandkids, for coming to celebrate my mom, Betty J. Shaw's life. My mom was quite a woman, wife, Christian, mother, grandmother, friend, teacher, and wonderful woman. I would like to start with a Christian thought that my sister Jana shared with me this last week about my mom, which she received from God. Your mom rests with me now. She spreads her wings in music throughout my heavens, playing beautifully among my angels. She smiles at you below, knowing your love for her. She is at peace with me. Know she is with me, child. Know this, for I am your father. I love you, my child. My mom had many great qualities in her life that I would share a few of them with you that meant a lot to myself. She had unconditional love for her kids, family, students, and friends. She would put everybody's wants and needs in front of her own. My mom had a great sense of humor. She always wanted to be the life of the party. My mom always looked at the brighter side of life instead of the negative side of life. She would see the good in people, not the negative. Every day, she loved life to the fullest and made the best out of it in every situation. She would always see the glass half full, not half empty. My mom had a great effect on people's lives, including her family, kids, grandkids, students, and friends. She always tried to bring the best out of people, not the negative. My mom always brought a smile to people's face with warmth, love, kind heart, and spirit. An example of this is a quote I would like to share with you that my son Jacob shared on his Facebook about her, which he passed late last week to be with our Father, Lord, and Christ. Please keep me and my family in your prayers. Last night, my grandmother passed away. I have never lost someone this close to me before. The pain and sorrow I felt at first was overwhelming to the point I grew dizzy from lack of oxygen to my grief. After I regained consciousness to the situation, the realization of knowing that no one ever truly dies came over me, knowing that she's with God looking down on me and my family gave me relief. Thinking of this beautiful notion, along with the fact that I would hold clearly the lessons I learned from my grandma, made me realize she will always be there. Something is only lost or dies if we cease to associate it or implement it which we learn. Cherish those closest to you and become ever present in their moments you share that truly are the greatest gifts you can give. Love you, Betty Shaw. But she wanted this to be a celebration today of her life, not a funeral. So I thought I would share some great memories and funny stories that I shared with my mom. And my mom was also a second mom to all my high school friends and friends. So one of the stories that started off is when I was in high school, about 16 years old, and my brother Justin, so she went out on a Thursday night, she went out to go do something. And of course, me and my brother, we get into it. We get, of course, there's going to be some type of story or situation. That's my history of my life. So I used to chew ice all the time when I was in high school. So I would always go to the ice maker and grab some ice from the ice maker. So I went to the ice maker, put my hand in the ice maker, and all of a sudden it shut. And so my finger was there being smushed by the ice maker. And I couldn't get it out, so I start screaming to my brother, Justin, come help me. Please help me get this out of here. So he couldn't do it. He said, well, go grab a tool. So he goes and grabs a hammer and starts hitting on the thing. The problem is every time he hits on it, I get zapped, and I'll get zapped left and right. So funny story is, he goes screaming down the street, 11:30 at night, starting crying, help me with my brother. So, everybody thought I'd died or something like this. So all the neighbors come up at 11:30 at night. So she finally called 911. We have the police, we have the fire department, and all this. And just then, my mom's pulling up. She's going, oh God. So that's one of the ones. Second one I'd like to share with you is about in high school, some of my best friends, five high school friends, were all football players. So, they weren't exactly skinny guys. So one story was she would always like for all of us to come over to her house on Friday night, hang out. And so one Friday night in June, she fixed us dinner, a whole bunch of chicken nuggets, pizza, everything. But my mom taught on Friday nights. And so she would set out a plate and say, hey, this is mine, don't eat it. I finished teaching at 11:30 at night. Well, of course, me and my buddies eat everything in the house. And then we also had a back playroom in the back. So, we're out there drinking beer, getting in trouble like we usually high school is. So about 11:30, all of a sudden, we're hungry as anything. So we come back in, rushing into the house to get all this food. And we clean everything out, and then all of a sudden, two of my friends see this plate, and I said, no, you can't eat that. That's my mom's. Of course, they didn't listen. They ate it all up. So at 11:30 at night, my mom's coming out, and my friends are eating the food, and they look at me and said, please tell me you just didn't eat my dinner. I said, yes, Miss Shaw, we did. I'm sorry. So she tries to go prepare something else for her in there, but of course, there's no food left. So she's walking out, God dang it, I got to go to McDonald's. It's 12 o'clock at night to go get my own dinner. So that same night, they would spend the night at my house, and my mom was very economical. And so being a single mom, so this is on Friday night, she would always turn up the thermostat to 82 degrees. Well, I had a good buddy of mine, I'm not going to say his name, but he would sweat a lot. So he would always turn it down to 62. So as soon as she went to bed, he turns it down to 62. Well, my mom wakes up an hour later, she's shivering and just cold. So she goes back, turns the thermostat back up to 82. No longer will she shut that door. My friend came back, turned it down to 62 again. This went on for 3 times. My mom finally just gave up. When in the morning we woke up, you could see frost on the windows. The AC had locked up. And I think our bill that month was $500, when it's usually $200. So, and my third one I would like to share with you, I know I'm going over a little bit over, I apologize, was with my college buddies, Adele's friends, some of my good friends. When I was in college, we would have a rush party during the summer called Houston State, and there would be about 10 of us who all stayed at my mom's house, and she loved it. She was the life of the party, so she was out there one Saturday night cooking us dinner and all this. Well, of course, us being college kids, we didn't have any wrinkle-free shirts. So my mom gets out there, spends 10 hours ironing 10 shirts. And so it's like a lineup. Everybody comes and lines up to pick up her shirt, but she loved that. So I just wanted to share that with you. To close, I'd like to share a poem with you, missing my mom a little more today, and a prayer about my mom. If roses grow in heaven's Lord, please pick a bunch for me. Place them in my mom's mother's arms and tell her they're from me. Tell that I love and miss her, and when she turns to smile, place a kiss upon her cheek and hold her for a while. Because remembering her is easy, I do it every day, but there's an ache in my heart that will never go away. Another prayer. Now that my mom is dead, Lord, I find myself remembering so many different stages of my life. My mom who held me, kissed me when I was very small. My mom who taught me how to tie my shoes and ride a bicycle. My mom who taught me how to drive. The parent I learned to respect in new ways as an adult. And the parent I watched grow old. Loving Lord, let me carry on my mom with always in my heart. Thank you for giving me the most precious mom there is. Lord, I know that she is watching up there with you today, next to you, and please, Lord, let me be half the woman my mom was on this earth. I raise my hand to you. Thank you.
I remember when I went to see her in the hospital to say goodbye to her. And I was looking at her, and I said to her, I don't have the words. I don't have the words to tell you how to say goodbye. So the best I could do was to find those words. This is a poem by Christy Gurney. It's called You're a Gift. Mom, there are no words that can possibly express how much you mean to me and how much trust I feel for you. You've given up so much for me, more than I deserve. No matter how bad it gets, I can always count on your smile. When you laugh, your eyes light up much like the stars in the sky. Your shoulder is there for me to cry on. Your leg is there for me to lean on. And you provide the rope that keeps me together so that I don't break. I hope that you know I love you every bit of my heart. And you're not only my mother, you're a friend, you're a companion, but most importantly, you're a gift. Thank you.
I first met Mrs. Shaw at the University of Houston as a graduate student when I became one of her teaching assistants in class piano. After I graduated, I began teaching private piano lessons in her home along with my close friend, Andre. We each had a key to her house and the code to her alarm system, and we pretty much came and went as if it was our own home. The memories of coming into her kitchen to the smell of freshly brewed coffee, talks at her kitchen table before and after teaching hours, some of them lasting well until past midnight. Her listening to the various problems and dramas that dictated our lives, and no problem or topic of discussion was ever off limits. Her advice thoughtfully given and always free from judgment. Even the memory of a weekend trip to New Orleans with just me, Andre, Mrs. Shaw, where we met the incredible jazz clarinetist Pete Fountain after attending one of his shows. These are but a few of the memories that characterize our relationship with her. I knew early on, though, that she was a kindred spirit. When one day, before an afternoon of private teaching in her house, she arrived home from the University of Houston, came into her kitchen, and regardless of our presence there, hiked up her skirt, began shucking her pantyhose, and said in a voice that could only belong to her, "Excuse me while I get out of these nylons." These are but a few of these memories. The relationship that was set in motion continued to grow and strengthen over the next 32 years, and she remained one of my closest friends and confidants until the day she passed from this life. She was such a unique and special person, as extraordinary as they come. And I could go on with descriptions and stories about her benevolent spirit, her endless energy, her fearlessness, her endearing and colorful personality, her passion for her teaching, her children, her grandchildren, and basically just for life in general. But we'd be here forever. So I'll pick just one personal story that best illustrates my constant reference to her as my second mom. Sometime in my mid to late 20s, I became ill and had a pretty serious flare-up of my childhood asthma. Andre, my roommate at the time, was out on a date, and so I was left completely alone in my misery. I began to feel increasingly worse, having more and more trouble breathing, and was trying to decide what to do when Mrs. Shaw called. She could hear my troubled breathing and distress over the phone, and so she said, "What can I do, babe? Tell me what you need." To which I replied in a most pitiful voice, "I need my mom." Her immediate response, "I'll be there in 15 minutes. Click. She came straight over with her humidifier and took care of me until Andre came home much later that night. Mrs. Shaw, you were a mentor, a friend, a second mom, and I will miss you more than you can possibly know. But today, I celebrate you. I celebrate the person that you were, and most of all, I celebrate the person that you are now as you live face to face with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, in eternity. I can't wait to see you again."
I'm Brian Reed, and I was one of Miss Shaw's students, like many of you. I started piano lessons with Miss Shaw at the age of 7. She taught me Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, all the greats, and I did not like it. Sheet music was my nemesis, and I began writing my own music to avoid reading it at all costs. Around the age of 12, I decided I was going to quit, but Miss Shaw did everything that she possibly could to prevent that from happening. That was one of the greatest gifts I've ever received. It was as though she had foreseen some inevitable growth within me. For over the next few years, I started to love classical music more and more. It became virtually the only thing I would listen to. I'd spend hours at the piano every day playing it because playing it became my favorite thing to do. It was my hobby, my passion, and my method of procrastination. Miss Shaw came to my house once to teach me on my piano and told my parents that I needed a better one. She came shopping with us and helped me find the one with the right timbre for my playing and composing style. That was how well she knew her students. Betty Shaw saw promise in me and continually pushed me to explore my talents. She nagged me every week to get my music out of my head and onto paper, even setting me up with a composition teacher for a while. Whether I was preoccupied with sports or schoolwork, she seemed to know that I always needed more music in my life. She begged me to practice more, pushed me into high school music theory, and even emailed several UT music deans telling them to let a finance student take their classes. But Betty Shaw was not just my devoted teacher. She was my friend, my mentor, and one of my favorite people in the world. She introduced me to my first love, music, and for most of my life, she was the one person who continually shared her knowledge and love of the art with me. I got to visit Miss Shaw in the hospital a few days before she passed. Behind the oxygen tubes, she was the same person she always was: courageous, loving, optimistic, and of course, stubborn. She told me, as she often had, that too many people spend too much time doing the things they don't love, and that she always loved teaching music. She has advised me one last time to live my life doing what I loved. When Jana asked her, "Wasn't he one of your favorite students?" she quickly replied, "He was the most annoying." She was only partly kidding. I fought her every step of the way, over the correct dynamics and speed to use, over practice time, over theory, workbooks, and writing my own sheet music. Eventually, she won every battle. Betty Shaw will continue to be one of the most influential people in my life for years to come because of the things she made me do, the knowledge she shared with me, and the belief she had in me. I'd now like to quote a novel called Peace Like a River, so we can be reminded why Betty needed to move on, and this is a description of heaven. And now from beneath the audible came a low reverberation. It came up through the soles of my feet. I stood still while it hummed upward bone by bone. There is no adequate simile. The pulse of the country worked through my body until I recognized it as music, as language, and the language ran everywhere inside me, like blood, like a rhyme learned in antiquity. A verse blazed to my mind. Oh, be quick, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. And sure enough, my soul leapt, dancing inside my chest, and the pulse of the country came around me, as of voices lifted at great distance, and moved through me as I ran until the words came clear, and I sang them with a beautiful and curious chant. As musicians and humans, we are attracted to that little bit of heavenly beauty that we hear in music, but it does not compare to what Betty Shaw is experiencing now. And if I know her at all, I know that she can't wait to share it with all of us. When I saw her for my last time on earth, I was able to show her my first completely written out composition. She had a few critiques, of course, but she told me that she was proud of me and loved me. Every song I ever wrote has a piece of her teaching in it, and I hope every piece to come puts a smile on her face. We love you, Miss Shaw.
I'm glad to be here today. This is from the Psalms of David, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Betty became my public school music teacher when I was 6, and then became my private piano teacher when I was 10. I'll be 70 next month. I have loved her for 64 years. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
If I have a faith that can move mountains but do not have love, I'm nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others and is not self-seeking. It is only easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, it always trusts, always hopes, and always preserves.
Hi, I'm Rachel. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I part the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
I'm Rivers. I'm reading John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give you to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid.
Thank you to all the grandchildren for participating in this.